Hello everyone. So I'm going to try something new and I want your opinion to see if this is what you like. I'm going through past videos and several of you have asked questions, so I'm going to tie in questions with jokes, and I'm working on a project. So here is your first joke. What did the father buffalo and the mother buffalo say to their son when they sent him off to college? Are you ready? Come in close. Bye, son. So anyways, as I get my crochet ready, I'm working on a namesake doily, and I'm going to be making a couple of these because several people have asked for them, and I will show you when I get done, but I'm not going to show the name of the person that I'm making for it because I've got to protect privacy. So anyways, with one of my last jokes was a couple of days ago about Valentine's, and one of my subscribers said that she does not celebrate Valentine's, but her husband likes it, so she bought him a card. And that's how we can get to know one another. It's not all about us, it's not all about me, it's not all about you. It's what we can do to merge everything together so that we can see how we can meet a need in someone else. We all need to be edified, we all need to be lifted up. We all like little things, and if you ever want to find out what you may have your best interests, it's called The 5 Love Languages by Charles Swindoll. I've read it several times. I've given it to birthday situations, anniversary couples getting married. It's a really good book, and I recommend it. And I just wanted to share that. So then another person commented that she guessed the answer. What kind of flowers are best given on Valentine's? And the answer was tulips. And she is a single person. She does a lot in the community, and she didn't have no one special. Her family's kind of like far away for her to be able to share with her grandkids. I mean, she gets to talk to them on the phones and she gets to do different things, but she wasn't able to share it with someone special. So she shared her day with having the best date with God, because He is always with us. He always is there in knowing what we need and how we can receive love for Him, because He gives us breath in our lungs. He gives us everything that we need. He gives us a roof over our house. He helps provide by us either having a job or helping with others, and that we can contribute doing different things. And as I make this doily, when I was probably like about 5 years old, my grandmother was from Mexico, and she was able to get married at a very young age, back in the 30s, 35. And this was like in the early 70s. I went over to her house because we lived on my grandparents' farm. And she goes, "Racy, if there is anything that I could teach you, what would that be?" And she goes, "Do you want me to teach you how to make enchiladas or tamales or Mexican soup?" And I go, "Grandma, can I think about it for a couple of days?" So I went off on my little merry way, being 5 years old. And I come back to her, and she did this filet crocheting, which is with crochet thread number 10, and she used a 1.40 mm, and she would always get into trouble from my grandpa because he worked out on the farm, and he would come at breakfast time, at lunchtime, and at dinner time, and he would say, "Rosa, where's my meal? I'm gonna take and hide your crochet hooks from you because I work really hard to provide for this family, and I need my meal. I need my substance so I can be working out hard in the field. I'm giving you 30 minutes. I'm going to go do some more stuff around the shop or on the farm. And when I come back in, you better have your meal set and ready so I can have my meal." So she would get up, she'd put her crochet hook down, she'd put her thread down, and she would be off into the kitchen, scurrying, because what was important for Grandpa was very important for Grandma. And so I came back and I says, "Grandma, I want you to teach me how to crochet." And she didn't start me out with such a very small hook, because if you guys look up real close, this hook is really small. It's got a really fine hook. There it is. And so she got me a H hook, and she got me Worcester weight yarn from Woolworths way back in the day. And she said, "I'm going to teach you how to do the granny square." And typically most of us know what that is. She did a chain of 4 and hooped it together, and then she did a chain up 3 and 3 double crochets in the center circle, and then she chained 2 and then 3 more clusters of double crochet, chained 2, and she had 4 clusters. And then she showed me how to build on that, and that was back in 1980. And we moved away from the farm, but every Sunday we would get together and we would have Sunday lunch or supper with my grandparents, and she would look at seeing how I did with my work. And some of you know that I just celebrated my birthday. I turned 59 years old, so I have been crocheting for quite some time. Since then, I have graduated from just doing granny squares. I've learned how to knit. I've learned how to make hats. I first made that into a blanket, and I've done scarves and many more blankets, and I've made many of these namesake doilies. And if I made a mistake from what Grandma was teaching me, whether it would be if I had time during the week, I would either do like 4 or 5 rows or 10 rows or 1 or 2 rows by the time Sunday came back around. And she would say, "Racine, Venica," means come here. So she would start looking, and the first couple of times it just like broke my heart. And because I worked like really hard that first week, I made like, I'm just guessing right now, maybe like 5 different rows. Because you know, when you start with that little square, you can build really fast because it goes really fast because you got a big hook. Well, she would say, you know, this looks pretty good. This looks pretty good. Your tension's pretty good. Oh, you missed the chain here. Oh, you missed the double crochet here. And she put it down on the table, and she grabbed my hands and she goes, "Racine, this is going to be the hardest lesson you're going to have in life." and I'm going to stop and I'm going to look at you. And I go, well, what do you mean, Grandma? And she goes, I want you to learn how to do things right. And this will help you throughout your life. And over time, you're going to have to go back and you'll have to redo things. You may have to remend relationships. And what you have to do is you have to take it apart. Well, in our streets here in the craft, we call that being on a lily pad and being a frog, because you rip it out. And you should have seen my eyes. It's like I'm looking at you right now. They got so big. And I go, Grandma, you're not going to take it out? And she goes, sí, Racing. Sí. She broke and spoke Spanish and English with us growing up to a certain point, and then I'll have to tell you that story. And she would take it out, and she would say, you have to chain. Well, you slip stitch when you finish a row, and then you either chain and turn your work and do double crochets, and then chain and do a new increase and make 3 double crochets in the corner, chain 2, make 3 more double crochets in the corner. And sometimes I would only put 2 double crochets. I wouldn't chain 2 or chain 1. And she goes, when you do things right, and you can receive from me, your grandmother that loves you so much and wants the best for you, then you'll be able to go through life. When someone corrects you, and that first time, I'm going to be honest, I was like 5-6 years old. I started bawling. I'm like, no, Grandma, please don't rip it out. Please don't rip it out. She goes, it's yarn. It's flexible. It's givable. You'll be able to work with it. But if I have to come back each week and rip it out way back to the beginning, then you're going to have problems, because the wear and tear on your thread is going to break down. So needless to say, it was very humbling, but my grandmother says, do you trust me to teach you to do things right? And I stopped bawling, of course, and I wiped the tears away. And I says, yes, Grandma, I would rather receive from you, because you are correcting me in love and that you want the best for me. And over time, I learned how to start crocheting with the small thread. And I'm going to finish this 1 double crochet. And this is another story that she shared with me that I hope I can pass on to you. I'm going to put my crochet hook down. And we've all, whether in town, living out on the farm, wherever you can see where other animals live, especially if you ever read the book Charlotte's Web, there was a spider that lived in the barn, and she made a web, and she laid her eggs, and her babies were born. And that's kind of like what my doily is here. It looks like a big thing of webs, and if you kind of look through me, you can see that. And Grandma said, look at that like in life. Wherever you go, whoever you meet, you're going to build bonds, and some of those bonds are going to be really good and strong, because I'm going to bring it up here. You go through the base of the last row and you make loops and you make a stitch. And to go over to the next double crochet, you chain 2 and you make another double crochet, and you chain 2 and you go into the first double crochet where I have clusters, which you can see right here. And I'm making a graph of what I am ultimately putting together, someone's name. And when this yarn that I bought, I'll show you how big it is. It's a huge, big number 10 crochet thread. I'll be able to make a lot of doilies. And it's going to be strong. It's going to be knitted together, crocheted together. It's going to be durable. It's going to, however, the person that I give this to, how they protect that to keep it nice and crisp is going to make it last forever. But in some things, you know, we make like washcloths or blankets, and depending on how much you get use out of them, eventually the fibers are going to break down. And Grandma said that as you are putting all these strings or threads together, is going to make it durable to outlast. I mainly, when I first started doing the crafts in crocheting thread or knitting, whatever, I used what I could afford. And I'm going to be honest, I went to Walmart or Woolworths or JCPenney's or Ben Franklin's, because I'm aging my age, back in the 70s and 80s, that's where the yarn was provided. And if you go to different places like state auctions, you may come across some of this yarn that was put together back then. Or if you go over to Europe to really, I don't want to say old establishments, but they may still have some of that old yarn that was put together years and years ago. The quality of yarn that is put together is like your clothes. Grandpa used to say, if you go spend $5 for a cow, that's what you're going to get, is a $5 cow. But if you want a really good, we had cattle, so he would go and look at different places to buy bulls to populate, I'm having to think of different words, the farm with more cattle. He would have to go and spend a couple $100 to make the population of the cattle grow. So depending on what you spend on your crafts today, if you want to just make something simple, you can go buy something at the Dollar Tree or Family Dollar. But if you are looking for something that has good quality, you may go on the internet, you may talk with your friends, and you might say, what am I looking for to make a nice quality product? And that could be in your home, your job, a vehicle. You have to do your homework. And I wanted you to get a little bit more of who I am, that I don't just tell silly jokes, or I may not just read a devotion, but I'm going to start looking at questions that you all come back and ask me, and I'm going to try and have an answer for you all, and hopefully get to know who I am a little bit more, what makes me laugh, what makes me cry, because, you know, I don't have it all. And if I can learn from y'all what you want to know of me, what I get to know of you, and if you don't mind, I'm not going to ever share who you are when you ask a question, but I'm going to elaborate more on the questions, because we all are going through this life. Some of us may look like we have it a little bit better. Others may show that they have it all together. And I want you to know who the real me is. I don't want to have it come across that I'm putting on a front, that what you see me in this camera, in this live, and if we get an opportunity to meet up with one another, then it's who I am all around. What makes me tick, what makes me laugh, what makes me cry, what pushes me. And I'm going to share this story, and you might hear about it in a couple of days, even more so. And I'll leave with this story. When I lived back in the state of Washington, I went to a really big church, and a lot of the older women, I want to say over 55, close to a little bit, couple more years than what I am right now. I just turned 59, like I said. And these ladies did absolutely gorgeous knitted cardigans. And I went to their group one day and I said, I would like to learn how to make one of those. And I had just started learning how to knit. I just knew the basics of casting on the stitches, or knitting a row, or purling a row, or binding off. And one of the ladies, without even batting an eye, she put her hands on her hips and she says, well, Racine, you don't know enough to know better. And I went, what? This is from people from church. And she goes, I don't have the time to teach you. So you go find somewhere else to learn how to knit a little bit better and how to know what more is involved in doing a knitted cardigan. And then you come back. This was in the late, I would say mid 2005 to 13. I was so heartbroken. I put my knitting needles down, I put my crochet hooking down, and for about a month, a grown woman bawled and said, I will never ever do that ever again. Well, a couple of friends said, let's go to a town, because I lived on an island, and was told, let's go and see at the local yarn shops if I could learn a class a little bit more about knitting. And so I went and signed up for a learning how to knit socks. And it was a Monday through Friday. Or actually, no, it was on a Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And you went for 3 weeks and you learned different sections. And I went like 5 different times. Yeah. Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So that was 3 days. And then the following week, so it was like a 2-week period time frame. And I learned how to cast on stitches. I learned how to measure my ankle, how long my foot was, what kind of yarn I needed, what kind of stitch markers, and I needed to pick a pattern. So needless to say, I learned how in 2 weeks how to knit a pair of socks. And the teacher there said, I'm going to be honest, I'll be open with you. The ladies at the church were not really wanting to learn how to expand their knowledge to the next generation. The teacher said, we're all in a class. in our life, in our marriage, in our friendships, in our families, we have to learn how to work with one another. And my grandmother said, she was 4'8", there is never a stupid question. The only dumb question is if you never ask it. If you want to learn something, you have to find and keep looking until someone will teach you. So needless to say, I learned how to knit socks. Then I started learning how to knit scarves. Then I learned how to do the infinity scarf. That was a challenge. And there's this group of ladies that now have special get-togethers throughout the year. And at Thanksgiving, I learned how to do the mosaic stitch, where a couple of years ago, Samantha Stewart and Sandrine all said, Racine, you got to learn how to do this. Well, I'm a visual. I need to have someone right there teaching me how to do it. Saying to go to YouTube and just look at it and pick it up and do it by yourself, I'm not that kind of person to learn how to learn. I need to have someone sitting right next to me. And so these group of ladies took the time and helped me to learn how to do the stitches. So we just had the Super Bowl game. I did another pattern of combining a bandana and a cowl, and I put two together. I learned how to do a stitch of putting a hat together. So with that, I just wanted to come on and share just a little bit more about who I am. And I've learned how to expand all of my crafts. So I thank you for this time. I thank you for my jokes. I thank you for my little stories of my spider web. Let's all keep working together. Have a great day. Until we meet again, take care with Racine with happiness. And I look forward to seeing you all very soon. Please send your questions, because I'm going to try and do this more often. And have a great evening, great morning, wherever you may be. And I will see you very soon till we all meet again. Bye-bye.